Ladies and gentlemen, I never thought this day would come, but it's time for Sandy Bottom Homestead to make a change. Wait, I forgot to say, good morning everybody. Welcome back to Sandy Bottom Homestead, and I hope you're having an absolutely fantastic day. But you heard it right, we are gonna make a change, and it's a tough decision. It's something I did not wanna do, but over the years, I've just come to the conclusion that this is the best thing to do, and I'm gonna explain it to you right now. We're gonna move this garden. There it is. But I need to, typically what you would do in something like this is I'd drag it out and I'd make you think like, what's he changing? This, that, and the other. It's not that the fact that I'm moving it, but it's like all of the reasons why I'm moving it that are so important. That's, the moving of it is not the discussion of the video. And I'm not moving it today. I'm moving it after the season. We're gonna run it out and then we're gonna make changes as needed. So let me explain to you how this area started and what the vision for it was. So we had a bad hurricane. It knocked the trees down in this area. And I said, you know what? It's already cleared. Let's grow it. And we were going to make it, it's called the wild garden because it was going to grow wild. We were just going to put it in and let things run rampant. And it was an in-ground bed at first. As you start any bed, it had its trials and tribulations. The weeds were 6-7 feet tall the first year, and we got through, but we were getting harvest, we were getting through it, and then everything was going good. We got a couple big watermelons out of it and it grew fine. And at some point I got tired of managing the weeds in the garden. It was virgin soil, and when I say virgin, I mean it had been clear cutted like 3 years before and where I live now so that they could build, and then for hundreds and thousands of years, it was just woods. There was nothing here. And so things just went out of control. So I made the brilliant decision that, hey, and this was the first mistake too, I was gonna put raised beds in there. You may be thinking like, oh, well, that's a good idea, right? It managed the weeds, took pretty good care of them. Everything kind of worked well. But you have to remember, the envision of this garden was to plant stuff and just let it grow. Not really worry about it, not trellis it, not cover it, nothing. Just let it be. That was like my dream for this garden space. This, once I put the raised beds in, that dream was gone. It now went and turned into another one of these back here, just not as attractive, more cramped, and just didn't really work out. I couldn't let the watermelons run wild. I mean, the first year I had watermelons running back and forth in here. It just filled up. They were going around the tomatoes were good. But once I put this in, I also made another fatal mistake, and I got bad soil. I know you've been talking about me fighting the soil, or been hearing me talk about fighting the soil for a couple, if you've been with me for a while, it's been a while. And it's getting a little bit better, but at the same time, it's just still not great. What I ended up getting, I went somewhere and they were like, yeah, we've got good soil. I got it. And it ended up being just basically a step above fill dirt. If you don't know what fill dirt is, it's basically what you put at the foundation of a house. It's just terrible. You can't, I mean, it's awful. So I've amended it and done this, done that. We went as far as, and we installed a drip system in here, which if I would have left it an in-ground bed, it would have been easy, but it wasn't because I didn't do that. So there is that aspect. So then we came through, and then the other issue is this tree here shades it, and I think it just gets a little too much shade and I can't fight it anymore. So what happened was the last videos, or a couple videos ago, something, I don't know. Remember when I fed that, used the drip feeder, the drip irrigation, the injector? So I was injecting into this bed, and I'll show you what I've been doing. I've got raccoons that come in, and they're relentless, man. I mean, I'm gonna be completely transparent with you. I'm gonna shoot his ass when I see him, and I'm gonna shoot every one of them because they're eating my food that we grow and work so hard for. But I'll show you what does keep them away. It's just, I'm not really set up for it perfectly. So in my shed here in the window, I've got an old ham radio that I use, and I just put it on a, yeah, the battery's dead, see. I put it on the NOAA weather station, So it's like frequency, for me, it's 162550. And what it does is all night, it just says the, you know, and Friday in the blah blah in coastal North Carolina region, it will be 85 degrees with winds coming out of the southwest, the seas, you know, all night long. And so what it does is it tricks the raccoons into thinking there's people here. Well, as soon as I started using this bad boy, instantly they stopped. But if this goes off, they come. And so the problem is it's constant. I have to constantly come out here and do it. Battery dies, you know, it's just kind of messed up. So that being said, also I can keep it in the window of my shed, protect it from the water. And if I have this bed over here, I think that the raccoons think they can get away with it. Now, if you feed, and especially with organic feed, it's like a magnet to them. They're just gonna dive right in, right? So we just kind of wanna stay on top of it. So it's kind of being a pain to manage at this point. So that night they came in and I came out and they pulled every single line and all of the beds out and ate through every single one of them. And I had to come out here and replace every single one. And so that's an issue. It's not the first time I've had to replace lines. And I'll be honest, generally speaking, you do have to replace lines. And the only reason why I've had to replace lines so far with this drip irrigation is because an animal has chewed through it. But in the springtime, so, and I've said this in other videos, but in the spring and the fall is when the animal pressure is really heavy because they're either, you know, they're rearing brood or rearing babies first thing in the spring. And in the fall, they're kind of getting together, getting their fat stores up. So it's not uncommon for us to have to redo a line or two in this garden, but that was every single line. We had to redo 16 lines, which isn't a huge deal, but you know, once you get established plants, you're pulling it out from under them. It's just kind of a pain. And that's what pushed me over the edge. I made my decision at that point. I was done. So we're gonna take this garden and we're gonna move it in front of this garden. So this garden bed, these two are 4x8 beds, and these two are 3x6 beds. Now, I've been growing in this space here for a couple of years. Well, actually, to be honest, 6 years here. And I've moved plants around and tested different areas for them and how they do and don't do. And so I know the production that comes out of here, and I know the challenges now that come out of here. This isn't an overnight decision. This is something that's been thought about for a long time, believe it or not. I was already on the fence, already, but I can grow in this bed in the early spring, and then that's about it. And then as they go through, like wintertime, it doesn't really produce a whole lot because it just gets overly shaded. So what I'm gonna do is I plan simply move the 4x8 beds in line with these. So we'll put one here and one here. And you have to remember, I like growing my sweet potatoes in the front bed so they can come out into the yard more. So that's gonna work out as once we put a 4x8 bed in front. But then the 3x6 beds from over here, I don't know exactly what I'm gonna do with them yet. I may make a U, I may put them off to one side. I'm not sure. What I am sure about, and I know this seems crazy, but I guarantee once I get those beds up, get them here, get some fresh soil in them, run the irrigation over here, I can guarantee you that the production from those 4 beds will go up at minimum 120%. And the reason why I say that crazy number is because we're going to introduce a spring season, a full summer season, because right now it's every year it just seems to struggle. Like I said, I've been keeping my eye on it. And then a full fall season in that bed with multiple rotations coming out. So I've been using it, you know, like I said, I've been eyeballing it, I've been watching it, and I've been seeing what's going on with it. And I've really been thinking about, like, what can we do with it? What can add, you know, what would add more? Would it be worth it? And what would the production rate be? And that was what I was watching this year, is what's the production rate gonna be? is it worth me managing it? Because I'm going to tell you right now, if they're going to dig up the lines every time, like, I'm not trying to give in to the raccoon, but what I am saying is if I buy a deterrent for here, it'll cover this area. But then I have to buy one for over here, so that's more money. And then if one works here and one doesn't there, there's like points of failure. And I mean, the cost of it, I don't have to build the beds, so that's not going to cost me anything. I'm going to have to buy the soil, so it's going to be about $60 worth of soil. And then I've got to rerun the line, so I'll probably have to buy about $20 worth of line, because I still have to run the irrigation from this hose because of water pressure issues coming all the way down. At some point in the I'm not gonna say near future, I don't want to front. I do plan though to get a faucet put out here, but it's gonna cost monies. So we're gonna run those lines. We're just gonna, instead of them running, I don't know why I'm pointing, I can just take you over there. Stop being lazy, Ben, what's wrong with you? Run these lines so the filter is right here. You can see it. So what I'm gonna do, instead of just running it here, I'll just run a water line straight there and have everything set up. So the only thing that I'll need to do, which will suck really bad, is get a line in the ground going all the way over to it and bury it, and then also bury the lines that come with the bed that are already in the ground. That's gonna suck really bad, but I don't have to build anything else for the bed. It's all made, it's all good, it's all ready. So that's a good thing. Believe it or not, I'm happy for that. I'm excited to make this change, but you know, at the same time, I'm a little bit sad because I had a specific purpose in mind for that area and it just didn't pan out, and I was convinced. But after years and years, I mean, I can either chase my tail or I can just tighten up and move on, and that's what I've decided to do. So have you had to make any tough decisions like this in your garden space? Have you done anything like this, anything kind of, you know, didn't pan out? And I mean, part of me says it'd be easier to give up, but part of me also says don't, because remember that number I told you about how much more I can produce? If I move those beds out here, I have zero interest in expanding my garden for a number of years. So, I mean, you're talking dramatic production increases. So here we go. So we're gonna start it in the fall probably, and then we're just gonna move on. What can you say? The goal is to have that area planted, or not that area, when this area is over here, have it planted early spring. So we'll have it planted in early spring, and I'll bring you the process as it happens. I'm sure things will come up, and then we're gonna do something else with that area that should be hopefully a little bit more fun.